Well, the Uganda government spends about 1.4 trillion shillings each financial year on paying salaries of public civil servants. This not ruling out over 360 billion shillings on fuel each financial year, not excluding maintenance of vehicles. It is a budget that is not revealed to the public. But now the head of state has started feeling the cost of maintaining government. They just concluded a cabinet meeting, not excluding members of the Central Executive Committee of the ruling NREM. The head of state did make it very clear that he's now coming up with a suggestion of scaling down on the number of government civil servants. But this is an issue that is raising a lot of dust here at the Ugandan Parliament. People thinking that it would be a wrong move for the president to first think of downsizing on the number of civil servants rather than starting with his own cabinet.
We only have, which is bloated, is the political offices. Is the political offices, which should be dealt with instead of talking of the public service. Because there's no way you're going to talk of reducing the public service. Look at the health centers. They are understaffed. How can you go further to our staffing, like at the health center force, you find standing at 30%. We need more doctors, we need more nurses. How can the president now come that he wants to cut public service? Because they're part of the public servants. Eh? Look at our schools. We have a shortage of teachers in the schools. So how can you cut them? What are those public servants he wants to be cut? He should start with his cabinet, because he has a bloated cabinet, presidential advisors who don't advise him, the RDCs. This should be the ones he should be talking of cutting, but not this mainstream public service.
Now, to say that they want to downsize on public service alone. But what about other areas? Like we are creating districts, we are creating constituencies, and every other day districts are created. That means another expenditure in as far as public spending is concerned. Members of parliament. So, president should realize that when we are in opposition and we advise, we do it basically for the good of our country. We have said this long time ago, that please let's have a reduction in public expenditure.
The cost of running the president's office and state house is another issue that did play out. Members of parliament do think that peddling a talk of downsizing on the number of civil servants who earn a peanut, it would be wise the president to first look onto the aspect of scaling down the budget of a state house, which they think that the taxpayer is spending a lot of money on maintaining the presidency and the operation surrounding the office of the presidency. Of course, now you do understand that President Museveni only motorcade, his convoy, is composed of over 40 vehicles. Each has a consumption capacity of fuel of 400 cc. That, if you translate it, the office of the president almost spends over 2 billion shillings per month on fuel and maintenance of those vehicles.
The president should really have a one-week retreat with His Excellency Magufuli of Tanzania to see how he has managed to have those changes that have made a lot of impact on the people of Tanzania for just a couple of months, so that he knows how we can cut public expenditure. Let him first look at the State House budget. Where is the excess? Because we are not looking at only public service and other areas, but we must look at this expenditure holistically, so that all areas where we feel that we may have saved some money, we do it.
Members of parliament also did raise the issue to do with the huge amount of money that government spends on inland travels and external travels of its cabinet ministers and civil servants. We are meant to understand, according to statistical figures coming out from the Ministry of Finance, the Uganda government spends over 140 billion shillings on foreign travels of government civil servants and ministers. They do think that the president should interest himself on scaling down that budget and the number of government civil servants flying out of the country on official duties.
President issues a directive that any person, any officer moving out of this country, when he's going to be paid by the taxpayers, let him or her use economy. Let us abolish using first class and business class. There is a lot of money that we can save, but if that directive is not there, every flight you see comes in and goes out. There are many Ugandans who are on that flight and who have been paid by taxpayers and exorbitantly in first class and business class.
So, of course, public administration analyst Mukitale says that it is not just a matter of just saying that you just scale down the number of civil servants. He says the matter is too wide. It requires a national dialogue, more especially on policy matters on how civil servants can be scaled down, not just leaving it to one person, the president.
The president to come up with a complete, comprehensive policy dialogue. We have a challenge of policy dialogue in education, on land matters, on public service issues, why the ED of KCCA and URA and UNRA can be paid more than the Chief Justice, more than the Speaker. You know, these are issues. So I think we should go for a honest, comprehensive dialogue. Policy dialogue, constitutional dialogue, constitutional commission, delivery mechanism issues, why Mukono is not on strike and Nkosi, but Makere with more money is on strike and with bigger numbers. So for me, I think it's not just looking at the public service reduction.
Of course, Mukitale also stretches his argument, saying that President Museveni, first and foremost, need to concede that he has ruled for so long and he needs to hand over power to another person who can easily come up with new ideas.
The only way that is possible is for the president, first of all, to concede he has reached his limit of 30 years, 35 years, with 78 years age, that this country, he can have a national dialogue. It gives the country good institutions, and then the children of NRM who will come after him can nurture these institutions continue. Even the army, which people don't want to discuss, it has reached a point to decide whether it's a national army or his army. So what we need as parliament and as leaders is to be midwives, to encourage the president that you're very pregnant of a very good national army, of a very good institution, but you should push. So what we are lacking now is midwives. Midwives in the NRM seniors, midwives in the military seniors, in the military council, midwives in parliament, midwives in cabinet working to the president. You are very pregnant of twins. You can actually push and have them. If you continue keeping them, you'll die with them.
Of course, also public administration analyst Mukitale also did not rule out the aspect of legislating to reduce the excessive powers of the president, which he thinks that the president himself has abused these powers, and this has seen very many arms of government fearing to advise the president rather than being yes men and yes women.
What we need to do is a national dialogue which goes to the extent of a constitutional review commission, a constitutional dialogue which checks the powers of the president vis-a-vis the powers of parliament. Right now, parliament is an extension of the executive. We need to look at the role of government, what government can do, what private sector can do. We need to look at, for example, this NAD's work, all that has been presidential pronouncements. It is nowhere in policy. But this money which they are wasting could be put in cooperative bank. The money which those connected to government take, these cadres being appointed, they are the ones who killed the cooperative, they are the ones who killed the parastatals. This is cadres. So cannot have a country running on cadreship. The country runs on institutions.
Timothy Sibasi, to Television, here at the Ugandan Parliament in the capital, Kampala.